Hi, my name is Kendall, and I made a lesson plan that would be taught to 4th and 5th graders age range. This lesson plan is all about the structure of cells. So for beginners, we're going to do the KWL chart. So I'm going to have students have a copy of this chart that I'm going to print out and provide. And before we start our lesson, I'm going to have them write down what they know. And then I'm also going to have them write down what they wonder. So what they don't understand or what they're curious about the topic. And then after we've gone through everything, they will write down what they learned throughout the lesson that we've talked about. So for beginners, I have a slide that I'm going to ask students what cells are and why they are important. So I'm going to have students tell me what they already know, and we're going to write it on this blank space here. And then after we talk about what they know, we're going to correct some of the misconceptions, talk about everything, and do a class discussion about it. I'm going to tell students what cells are and why cells are important so that they can understand and maybe get rid of any confusion that they have. Next, we have a slide that says what makes up a cell. So we're going to talk about cells, what makes them up, and how they're different from one another. This one is what are the types of cells and how are they different or similar. So we're going to talk about prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. We're going to talk about the differences in those, and we're also going to talk about how they're similar. Next, we have a cell types chart, comparison, Venn diagram. So I thought that this was a really good resource because after we talk about everything, I want to make sure that the kids understand everything. So I'm providing this as part of the lesson that I'm going to be teaching. So after we've discussed it and they told me everything that they think that they know, this way they can look and see whether they were wrong or not, and we'll have a discussion about any confusion that they might have had. So you can see that I have prokaryotes, eukaryotes, and then in the middle we have the similarities between the two. That they're simple, fewer organisms, smaller, DNA is not protected, so it's free-floating, but it still has DNA. So you can see in the middle here, it still shows that it has DNA. And then the next slide is the names and jobs of each organelle. So we're going to talk about all the different organelles, what the names of them are that they already know, and what they know about their jobs. This is going to be a slide where we also write down everything that the students tell me that they have previous knowledge about. They don't have to know everything, obviously, but we're going to talk about it afterwards. And then I'm going to show them a example of a eukaryotic cell here. So this cell just shows like all the organelles, what they look like, where they are, and what their names are. And then the next slide, I have the same exact thing, but this is for a prokaryotic cell. I thought that these were really good because it can show students what they look like before we really get into discussing the names and the jobs. And then I have a chart here. After we have our discussion, I'm going to hand this chart out to all the students. This has the name of the organelle, what the organelle does, and it shows another picture of the organelle so that they have a reference. And then lastly, it's going to be their turn. So what we're going to do for our activity for this lesson, after we've talked about everything, they're going to fill out their what they learned part of their chart, turn that in, and then they're going to, well, they're not going to turn it in yet. They're going to use that, and they're going to have, I'm going to provide Play-Doh, beads, pipe cleaners, other things, and I'm going to have the students split up into two groups. One of the groups is going to be creating a eukaryotic cell using the things that I've given, and the other group is going to be creating a prokaryotic cell. And then we're going to put those on display and then let them each look at each other's cells and see what they look like, so that way that they have something to reference back to. All right, thank you.